Well, today, guys, is a bit of a sentimental and a bit of an emotional day for me because we're playing through the first amp that I ever played through when I was 11 years old, back in 2003. Today, we're going to be checking out the Mesa Boogie dual caliber DC-3. I can't wait to share my stories with you guys. Let's get right into it. So what is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. My name's Ray. I'm a guitar player here on YouTube. If you're brand new to my channel, you just now found me. Thank you so much for joining me. If you want to consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all my guitar related videos, I'd really appreciate it. You guys ready for a story? So the year is 2003. My father comes home with a Gibson Les Paul Studio and a Mesa Boogie. Now, he was a huge Godsmack fan. This is right around when the album Faceless by Godsmack came out, and so he was a huge Tony Rombola fan, and he loved the fact that he was playing Mesa Boogies. So he didn't go with a full-blown dual rectifier and a Mesa Boogie 4x12. He went with a nice little combo amp, and he came home with the Mesa Boogie dual caliber DC-3. And I was excited, man. Now, the amplifier that he brought home was in a bit of rough shape. I mean, I remember the Tolex was ripped, and I remember the knobs were very crackly and scratchy. And I remember my dad was just... my dad had a bit of a temper, but I remember him drinking a couple Budweiser and being pissed off at this thing, because it never really worked perfectly. But the few things that I do remember from it, not only did it not work very well, not only was it old, but when it was working and firing all cylinders, oh my god, did it sound sick. It was loud, it was rowdy, it was aggressive. I was a little kid, but I was infatuated with this amplifier. I remember it was cool. It was always a treat when my dad let me play his studio through his Mesa Boogie, and I would attempt to play like some Led Zeppelin, like some Black Dog or The Ocean and stuff, and I just remember it being so loud and so awesome. And I just remember feeling that sound hit me in the chest like a ton of bricks, and I could never get it out of my head. Now, fast forward to 2017, I have a YouTube channel at this point in time, and I could not remember what the model of this Mesa Boogie was when I was a kid, because again, I was 11 years old. I really didn't know too much about, amps and the nomenclatures and things like that. All I can remember, it was a combo amp, and it had a graphic EQ, and it had a blue light. That's all I could remember from this amplifier. So after doing some serious research online of all the Mesa Boogie combo amps that came out in the mid-90s, because that's kind of when I could date it, or maybe even 80s. I knew it wasn't brand new when it was in 2003 when my father had it, so I knew it had to be old. So after doing some research, I have definitively decided that that amplifier was in fact the dual caliber DC-3. Now, when I got my own dual caliber, my DC-3 that I got about 2 months ago on this channel, I unboxed it on this channel. I said in that video I was gonna cry. I didn't cry, but I just still had those feelings of nostalgia and sadness, you know what I mean? It was just like a nice snapshot of my youth when I opened it out of the box, and I just like, it brought me back to that time, and it was pretty sad. I mean, you guys know my father's since passed away. I haven't seen him for like 3 or 4 years now. He's been gone a long time, but like it just like brought me back to that moment of being in my father's living room with his Les Paul and his Mesa Boogie, and it was like a very happy, sad feeling, in my opinion, you know what I mean? But now that we're out of the feels, now I want to give a nice little demo and a playthrough of this amplifier. For the demo song and the playthrough, I'm using my Jim Root Telecaster, a guitar that I'm kind of starting to fall in love with again. I kind of put it by the wayside because I was infatuated with the Strats. I picked up the Telecaster, threw on some new strings, man, and I gotta tell you, I'm digging it. But for this demo and this playthrough, guys, I did something a little bit different just because I wanted to try it. What I did was I slaved the DC-3 into my Universal Audio aux box. So basically, I'm just using the whole chassis of the actual amplifier, and I'm not using the Vintage 30 that's built into the Mesa Boogie combo amp. And the only thing different with the Mesa Boogie is I just put a little Ibanez tube screamer in front of it, and that is it, guys. So without further ado, let's get to the demo song first. Alright guys, that's the demo song. That's my Jim Rutelli running straight into my Mesa Boogie dual caliber DC-3. Now it's a little bit of playthrough, huh? Alright guys, that's the demo, that's the playthrough. My overall summary, man, is my dad had good taste back in 2003. Now I can't say definitively this amp is the main reason why I'm playing guitar today, but again, I can just remember that sound and that feeling of just that raw, rowdy, awesome Mesa Boogie saturation that I've talked about so much on this channel. There's just something about the way it's saturated. It's just like, just a very wet, rowdy sounding. It's not a dry gain stage. It's very wet. That's the best way I could describe it. You know, a lot of people could describe it as muddy or mushy or flubby, but I just love it, man. It's just like so, I feel like you can almost reach out and touch the gain stage of Mesa Boogie amps, and the dual caliber is the perfect example of that. It's creamy and crunchy all at the same time, and I love it. I also love this amplifier because it has a lot of the same familiar stuff that I love in Mesa Boogie amps. For example, the Mesa Boogie Mark 525 and the dual caliber DC-3 are very, very similar. They both have 12 AX7s and EL34s. They both have the 5-band EQ. They both have independent reverbs. They both have the EQ that's foot switchable, and it can be applied to both channels. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're almost identical in terms of the layout of the amplifiers. And I also find it interesting that certain Mesa Boogie amplifiers caught on and some kind of just went by the wayside. Like the dual caliber DC-3, I think it's like almost exact as like the Mark series in my opinion. It sounds almost the same, has the same exact layout, but the DC-3 kind of just went away, and now the Mark series is like the iconic Mesa Boogie sounds, like that and the dual rectifier, you know what I mean? So it's funny how like certain amplifiers just catch on and some kind of go by the wayside. Like there is no modern DC-3 anymore. So I think that's weird. And lastly, guys, I got to give a huge shout out to the gentleman that sold me this amplifier on Reverb 2 months ago. He included the original paperwork, the original box. The tag is still on the amplifier. It is in pristine condition, and I'm so thankful that I was able to find one for an extremely cheap price and for somebody that took great care of it. And I know that I'm going to be the next person to take great care of it, and I guarantee you it'll never leave my collection, because it's a snapshot of my childhood. It makes me very, very sad as much as it makes me very, very happy. So I'll never get rid of it, and it just feels good to have it in my collection. So guys, all in all, that's the DC-3. What'd you guys think of the tones? What'd you guys think of the song and the playthrough? What'd you think of the overall amp? Leave it all down below in the comments. Guys, if you're brand new to my channel, thank you so much for watching to this point in time. If you want to consider hitting that subscribe button, I'd really, really appreciate it. A huge shout out to all my patrons. I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so much for supporting me and letting me do what I do. I love you guys for that. And if you're not one of my Patreons, thank you so much for watching regardless and letting me share my story about where this amp came from and where it is today in my life. I really, really sincerely appreciate you sticking around to the end. And guys, it doesn't go unnoticed. Your support means everything to me. I'm out of here, guys. Stay metal, and I'll see y'all next time.